I'm going to go over the process of turning a quote into a PO that will then be partially processed, in the sense that once you follow these steps, the PO and the quote will appear on the desktop of customer service, and then customer service will be able to turn that into a sales order and then send, either, if the payment terms are credit cards, send a credit card payment link, or if it's net 30, they would just send an invoice and immediately process the order and send it out to shipping. Okay, so here is an example of an individual. Please see the attached order, and I'm going to bring up that PDF PO. Take a look at it over here. Okay, so we can see it's just a one-page PO. Just going to take a quick look at it, get some idea of what it's about. Then I'm going to go back into the email from him and figure out what the quote is. Hopefully it will be included, and if not, I have to do a little bit of research to find what quote that PO is based off of, if there is a quote. If there's not, if it's not based off of a quote, then we would have to go ahead and create a new quote that will match the PO. Okay, so I'm going to first search by his name in NetSuite in our universal search bar, and he is there, so that's a good sign, or at least it'll make the process quicker. And now what we want to do is go to the organization, since that's where we would find any quotes. And we can see this is a customer. That's another good sign, makes things quicker, easier. And here we can see there is a quote, and in fact it's a quote by me. Although this is actually a response to a quote, you can see it's not the quote itself, it's most likely right here. So let's bring up that quote and see if it matches the PO. And so we've got, that looks correct. And we just want to match our items. There's our test kit, 1, quantity 1, that's correct, pricing is right. Sensor 50 foot, that's correct. Quantity 1, pricing correct. And there is a missing item here from the quote. We'll need to add an H2 50-foot cable. We'll need to add that. And he is purchasing the calibration certificate. And looks like I do have that correct as well in the quote. Pricing is right. So there's one thing we need to add to the quote. Now let's just take a look at shipping. Shipping method, best way. So for that, what we would do in most instances, and actually as of today, we're getting a new shipping account, so my old shipping account doesn't work. So normally what I would do is send off an email to the shipping department, and I would say, please quote shipping for these items to this address. And what I'm going to do, though, is, since I have a very good understanding of what the costs have been in the past to this area, I'm going to make that determination myself, and then I can go back and correct it if necessary. All right, so what I need to do at this point, I'm going to copy this quote number so that I can easily get to it within NetSuite. And what I want to look at is payment terms, because they're obviously looking at net 30. He didn't say that he wanted to, let's see here. Actually, I take that back. Let me bring up the email again. Okay, he does want to pay by credit card. And so what I'm going to do is just check out the organization's financials, and I can see they are set up for a credit card already. So I don't need to go to customer service and ask them to set them up for payment terms. They've already done that research and they've qualified to pay by credit card. So now I'm going to put that quote in the universal search bar and bring that up, edit it to match the PO, and add in shipping. So I'm going to click edit. Okay, and the one thing we were missing is the H2 50-foot cable. So I'm going to go down here and add that in. And then I'm going to add in shipping. And again, it does say estimated. So I'm going to put what I think would be, and we do have a margin on the shipping as well that we look at. So I'm going to put down $35. And then again, when I get a quote back, in fact, I did send off a request for this in another email to our shipping department, since I haven't got my new shipping account set up yet for this video. I will then go back and correct that if that's off. All right, so going to now just look at double check again. Let's make sure all of our items match up. And we can look at the pricing as well. Now the pricing is not going to match up because we've got AVA tax, which accounted for the increase in the cost through, but our subtotal is a little bit different. So let's just double check pricing here and our items. Okay, so we've got one H2, $9.95. That is correct. Oh, I forgot the shipping was added. That's where but it doesn't hurt to double check anyways. The shipping's where that added amount came from. Okay, the 50-foot, we got the sensor, 515, correct. Cable, one cable. And base price is correct. TE Cal cert, 195, but he needs two of them. So we've got two, and that is correct. Let's look at the shipping and make sure that this shipping address matches what's on our PO. Ship to, okay. We've got a zip code problem here. Okay, we're going to need to go in and fix that. Okay, now to fix that, a couple ways we can do it. We can't edit from here. So what I'm going to do is just save this quote just to make sure I don't lose anything, any of my changes. And after I do that, I'm going to open up the organization in a separate tab, and I'm going to go in and adjust. So here's our customer. I'm going to go in and adjust the address, fix the address from within the organization. I could do that within the quote. We would then just create a new address, but I'm thinking that for future sales, we might as well correct it within the organization. So let's go to address and let's go to here. And now let's save that organization. Let's just refresh our quote so that it will register when we go to get that new address with that 57107 zip. And let's go to edit. look at shipping. Now let's go and reselect and see if that, oh, we probably have to do, I've selected the wrong one. Climate Systems 1 address. There we go. Let's just double check, make sure the address is correct. We don't want to ship to the wrong location. Sioux Falls, SD 57107. Okay, now that all looks good. Okay, let's make sure that we've got our sales team covered. Yep, that goes to Jim. Sure, we've got our relationship covered. Kurt, that is correct. All right, now we get down to the final aspect of how do we get this quote onto customer service dashboard so that they can then process it, turn it into a sales order, and then invoice or send a, in this case, they'll be sending a credit card link. And once we get to this point, it's a pretty simple process. We're going to go on PO and list it as a credit card so they know it's a credit card. And you can leave it at that if there's no PO. But in this case, we did receive a PO. And so we want to include the PO number. So we included the payment type. If they were net 30, you wouldn't need to type net 30. You would just plug in the PO. But since it's credit card, I just want to take that extra step. Or if they were wire payment and sent the PO, I would take that extra step. Put in wire payment, then put in the PO number. And I'm going to make sure that that's clear. Okay. And then we make it expire today. So we want it to expire with today's date. That will put it at the top of customer service desktop. We want to then also change it to positive customer feedback, 99%. These two steps, prioritize it, put it at the top of customer service desktop. This one just puts it on the desktop, but we need these two steps to prioritize it for customer service so they see it quickly so they can take care of it. And everything looks good at that point. We could double check items and all that, but we're looking good. So now we're going to save it. As soon as we do that, it will appear on their desktop, but there's a couple more things. Well, really just one more thing we need to do. So we're going to save it. Then we need to add two files. The first file is the PO itself. If you didn't have that, you would at least add a copy of the email message where they said, yes, we want to buy this. That allows customer service to know who to contact, and they need that. If it's a PO, then we need to definitely do the PO, attach that. So we're going to drag the PO from our email there and click save. And we're also going to drag over the email as a file attachment as well. And save that. So ideally we would have two attachments. Now, if you get this error, you do need to address this and fix it. So it's a good thing this popped up because there's already a message that's the same that's saved on the server. So here's how I solve that problem. I simply go to a temporary folder or folder on my desktop. I drag the email over to that folder and I rename it. And I rename it with maybe like the client's name or with their email or something to make it more of an individual name so that it doesn't exist. So I'm going to do this. Now it's an individual name. There's little chance of it actually being saved already on the server. And now I'm going to click save. And NetSuite is going to think a little bit while it processes. And to double check, so I can see everything looks good here, I want to go down to communication, then click on files. And those are my two required attachments. Again, if they didn't send a PO, which happens, then you absolutely have to, at the very least, include the email message. Ideally, though, you want both. So if they sent a PO, include the PO, and then also include the email message. You always want to include the email message no matter what. And that completes the process of getting a quote into a PO and sent to the customer service desktop for processing.